Hello, you beautiful awakened wanderers, and welcome to another video of Concepts of the Law of One. This video is precisely for you who are very likely a wanderer and maybe wondering what is a wanderer. So here I'm going to explain in a very broad way what a wanderer is, enough to give you an idea of if you are a wanderer or not, and also what are the reasons why wanderers are here and everything else related. For that, I have a lot of quotes that I want to use from the raw material and one special from Kuo that is going to give us a lot of context as to the population of wanderers here on Earth. And so before I begin, remember I have a lot of videos talking about wanderers, especially within the raw material. All of those sessions that I'm going to mention here, I have already covered. So if you can read the quote and see the session, which I always mention too, go watch that video if you're interested to see more of what the discussion was in more depth. As usual, this is the moment where I say these concepts are very, very deep and awesome, so you can always keep reading the material and discern even more information, but also you can go watch my videos where I have already covered that, and that way you can understand it in a more specific context, especially within the sessions. So with that being said, what I have is the beginning. Before we get into wanderers, I want to give Ra the spotlight so they can say exactly what are wanderers. In session 12, question 26, Don asked, "Who are wanderers?" And Ra said, "Imagine, if you will, the sands of your shores. As countless as the grains of sand are the sources of intelligent infinity. When a social memory complex has achieved its complete understanding of its desire, it may conclude that its desire is service to others with the distortion towards reaching their hand, figuratively, to any entities who call for aid. These entities, whom you may call the brothers and sisters of sorrow, move towards this calling of sorrow. These entities are from all reaches of the infinite creation and are bound together by the desire to serve in this distortion." To begin unpacking this paragraph and answer of Ra, I want to also mention that there are several videos that I have made in this playlist that you should be aware of, and if not, I would recommend that you go watch them. And they are going to give more context if you're not aware of these concepts already, which are the densities of consciousness. That's going to be very important. The veil of forgetting, which I already covered, very important as well. A mind-body-spirit complex, also another video. The confederation of planets and a social memory complex. Those 5 videos, if I can, I'll leave them here, and then you can go watch them if you want, so you can understand a little bit more this vocabulary that is being thrown at us from Ra. So with that being said, wanderers are actually souls that have evolved to higher densities of consciousness already. The creation is infinite, and many of these wanderers have already evolved from what we call 3rd density here into 4th density, 5th and 6th. Now, something that I didn't include here in the quotes, but I can mention to you, is that the vast majority of wanderers are from 6th density. There are a few from 4th and few from 5th density as well. So they're not completely uncommon, but they're much less than 6th density. So the vast majority of wanderers are from 6th density. That's all you need to know there. The other part that goes with the veil of forgetting is their purpose and contribution. It's kind of mixed there. And I want to give you another quote from Ra. But before I get into that next quote, the veil of forgetting is something that is part, as I explained in my video, the veil of forgetting, it is something that is veiling or hiding our true nature. And so wanderers actually have to go through this veil of forgetting as well. They're not exempt from this rule. And this makes things a little bit more complicated for the wanderer, but that's also what it's being desired as a wanderer, because we're here to serve, and that is our own purpose, all of us. No matter if you're a wanderer or not, we're all here to serve. And we are all part of the same collective planet, which is something that I'm going to emphasize, especially at the end of the video. But the purpose of a wanderer is really to serve, as is anybody else, but the wanderers have already evolved to 4th, 5th, and 6th density, most of them, and their honor is simply to serve because they have already done this. So there is no sense of superiority or by being a higher density soul, anything like that. In fact, I would say it's the opposite. The higher the realm of intelligence that is being channeled, then the more you're here to serve. And that's really what the awakening wanderer is. So we're gonna get into the awakening wanderers too. So that's in a nutshell what wanderers are. If you remember, the evolution across the densities are starting from 3rd density as the entity begins to know itself. And then it goes into 4th density, the density of love and understanding, then the density of wisdom, and then finally into the wisdom or the density of unity, which is 6th density. And there are some nuances in terms of how you can identify as a wanderer from 4th, 5th, and 6th. This is also within the channelings that I have done with Kuo, but I don't want to get into those details because that's not the purpose of my video here. It's just to give an overview of all of this. And also, Ra gives in the raw material a couple of hints as to how a 5th density wanderer may feel here, a 4th density wanderer as well, and a 6th density. And I don't want to get into those either because those are very specific. And just understand that if you feel a wanderer, you must feel an open heart into compassion, love, and maybe an overabundance of either compassion or wisdom. These are the things that are already accentuated in wanderers. And in any case, we're always trying to balance those two, love and wisdom here, by also expanding ourselves more. So with that, I'm going to get into the purpose and contribution the wanderers are doing here on Earth. What on earth are they doing here? So let's go check what Ra said here in another session. In session 52, question 9, Ra said, "The overriding reason for the offering of these brothers and sisters of sorrow in incarnative states is the possibility of aiding other selves by the lightening of the planetary consciousness distortions and the probability of offering catalysts to other selves which will increase the harvest." There are 2 other reasons for choosing this service which have to do with the self. The wanderer, if it remembers and dedicates itself to service, will polarize much more rapidly than is possible in the far more etiolated realms of higher density catalyst. The final reason is within the mind-body-spirit totality or the social memory complex totality, which may judge that an entity or members of a social entity can make use of 3rd density catalyst to recapitulate a learning teaching which is adjudged to be less than perfectly balanced. This especially applies to those entering into and proceeding through 6th density, wherein the balance between compassion and wisdom is perfected. So if you were asking the question, why would we want to come back to 3rd density if we're trying to get out of 3rd density? This is a very common question when we don't understand why we are bound to service to the whole creation. And like I said at the beginning, the more you are into channeling your higher self, the more you want to be of service, the more humble, as it were, you become, because you understand the reason why everything is created and why consciousness is having this experience and everybody being one. So the purpose of a wanderer is always to come back and help others, other apparent selves that are out there, other selves as we call them. And so their contribution is to, 1, lightening the load of the planet, which means that our planet Earth has been going through a lot of disharmony in the past several thousand years. And so this disharmony calls for aid by itself to the creation. And so the Confederation of Planets assists the planet by sending wanderers, or the wanderers volunteer rather, and they're approved by the council at some times to bring a mission. For example, Jesus the Christ was a wanderer, and he was approved by the council to come and aid the planet in that way. And so that was his mission. And so every wanderer that comes here has its own mission and is not requested, but is is hope that they could remember who they are. And this is the whole process of remembering who I am. And so this is the reason why wanderers come here in the first place, to aid everybody on the planet, to lighten the load of the disharmony that's been perpetuated on planet Earth. Now, the second thing that they do is that they also accelerate their own evolution in the higher realms. So wherever they come from, whether it be fourth, fifth, or sixth density, the catalyst that they confront here, that they use here, and that they program themselves as well to do, helps them to accelerate their process. So let me use Jesus again. Ra says that because he was from fourth density, Jesus came here as with an overabundance of compassion, which is really what he offered. And then this overabundance of compassion was balanced with some wisdom, which actually made him go through fifth density. And this is extrapolated from when Ra says that now Jesus is in fifth density. And so you can see that there is a huge purpose, not only for the wanderer to come here and help others, but also for itself and its own evolution into the higher realms. Now, lastly, remember, a social memory complex is just this group civilization that has advanced to a point where they can merge as one. For example, Ra and others like Hatan, Oxal, Latui, and the rest of the Confederation are all social memory complexes. These entities have merged together into one being. They no longer see themselves as separate, and they are just as one. And so they are also a sort of, let's call it a vortex of energy and patterns. Ra even calls themselves energy pattern that is called Ra. They are one harmony. It's almost like a symphony that they are within the creation. And the wanderer that comes here that belongs to that social memory complex, they also aid their social memory complex by experiencing and balancing those things that they consider they haven't balanced much yet. So for example, planet Earth is a great ground for, it's a fertile ground for people to balance either in compassion or in wisdom, because everything is so expanded here in the possibilities of us to bring wisdom to the overabundance of compassion, or to bring compassion to an overabundance of wisdom, which is really what characterizes a wanderer. It's usually unbalanced in one of these two. And so these are the three purposes that a wanderer has when it comes here. And you can already see that all that it has to do is not to serve others or to do specific things or to wake up other people, but rather to break the veil of forgetting, to penetrate that veil of forgetting and become more aware of who they are in their own being, not as an intellectual thing, not as a definition for themselves, but rather as how they feel and how they can channel much of this light, as opposed to their counterparts of other entities that are here who haven't ever felt this energy in any of their incarnations in the past. So you can begin to see how greater the service is for those who are wanderers, and why it is not, I won't say important, but it's a beauty that wanderers can wake up and actually bring this light that they have from their own social memory complex, from their own racial, which the word racial actually means a group from a planetary sphere or whatever they are from. And so this, to me, is the most beautiful thing that a wanderer can offer here, which is themselves, who they are, opening themselves to the all, to the one. And so the next thing I want to cover is how wanderers are awakened, because we're talking about this, and Ra actually gives a small indication as to how wanderers are awakened after they go through the veil of forgetting and some of the stimulus. But remember, there is free will, so wanderers can remain hidden, and they can stay without knowing that they are a wanderer, not even have a clue, then die, and of course they wake up to their own nature. But into how wanderers are awakening, especially for you who are watching this video and are very likely a wanderer if you're interested in these topics, which are not very popular nowadays. But if you are a wanderer and you've had some sort of awakening, this will probably interest you. So let's go read what Ra said. In session 53, question 12, Ra said, "The methods used to awaken wanderers are varied. The center of each approach is the entrance into the conscious and subconscious in such a way as to avoid causing fear and to maximize the potential for an understandable subjective experience which has meaning for the entity. Many such occur in sleep, others in the midst of many activities during the waking hours. The approach is flexible and does not necessarily include the close encounter syndrome, as you are aware." Now, the interesting part here is the discussion that Don and Ra were having at this point, and that had to do with the topic of close encounters as it was known in the 80s and still to a degree now. These close encounters were related to UFOs and ETs and the rest of the experiences that people were having in these initial contacts. Now, Don was inquiring about this, and they found themselves talking about the awakening of wanderers and how wanderers feel this. Now, the part that I'm interested here is how Ra says there are different ways to awaken the wanderer. In the experience of the UFO or the close encounter, which was related to, is very, very similar as any other mystical experience that people have, like Ra says, in the midst of their waking hours and their own activities. It could be in dreams. A lot of people have very revealing dreams and they cannot stop thinking about something, and this is what leads to an awakening. Now remember, not all awakenings are the same, and with that I would say that there is no specific category that we can say everybody has a sudden awakening, and those are the ones that make the news, if you will, but people gradually start waking up over time, and you can see that it may take them years to simply adapt to the new information that they're getting and stop getting involved with the things that they realize have been affecting them in the past. All of these things are awakening calls, if you will, or cues that are being given to the entity, and some entities actually follow through and they finally find that they have changed their lives. But most of the time we only hear about the sudden ones, and these sudden ones can be, again, mystical experiences of all kinds. Could include dreams, a simple sudden awakening or awakening call of an experience. Psychedelics have been allegedly used for this type of work as well. Some people don't have anything, some people do. There is a myriad of things that happen and that start awakening people into their own nature, and they all have the same story to tell. And so this is how wanderers are awakened over time, and it's a very subtle way in which we simply receive information about who we are. All of those things that we have been repressing, suddenly we find that we don't want to repress them anymore. We see the pain in ourselves by repressing that light that's shining right now. We can even add the fact that we have 4 density light or 4 density vibrations into the planet right now, and the wanderers are sensitive to this more than anybody else. And so the more they repress themselves, the more they're causing themselves injury and illness and psychological problems. Wanderers are actually, Ra says, they're very prone to being ill because of this reason. They are not of this harmony of planet Earth, and so they have trouble keeping up with this harmony and all the dissonance that's happening here on planet Earth. So all of these things should be taken into consideration for the people who are going through a struggle in their lives and they're finding themselves in the so-called dark night of the soul and so on. So all of these are cues and ways to awaken wanderers, because the whole purpose of them is to wake up, not because they're here to serve others and it's a grueling process that we have to go through. No, it's simply because they want to shine their own light. You can see it in yourself. You want to be you. And all those things that are preventing you from doing it, which are only things in your mind, conditioning that has been in your mind, all of this actually becomes unnecessary anymore. And now, especially in these times, a lot of wanderers are awakening. So that leads me to the last part that I want to discuss, which is the awakened population. We have some really cool numbers because you know that I enjoy numbers, and I wanted to give you something that Ra said, and then we're going to get into the last part where Kuo gives us the last current numbers. So first, Let's read what Ra said. In session 36, question 24, Don asked Ra for a percentage of awakened wanderers, and they said, "We can approximate the percentage of those penetrating intelligently their status. This is between 8 and 1/2 and 9 3/4%. There is a larger percentile group of those who have a fairly well-defined, shall we say, symptomology indicating to them that they are not of this, shall we say, insanity. This amounts to a bit over 50% of the remainder. Nearly 1/3 of the remainder are aware that something about them is different." All right, before I start speculating on this, just remember, this was 1981 and things have changed after 40 years. How much? I don't know. So all of this is just to play with numbers and just give us an idea. And then we're going to update at least one of the numbers for wanderers and another category that I haven't talked about yet that are not precisely wanderers but could be included as well. So the numbers are as follows. There is approximately 10% in 1981 that have penetrated the veil, basically, is what Ra is saying. They have penetrated intelligently who they are. And so only around 6.5 million, because Ra said that in 1981 there were around 65 million wanderers. So only about 6.5 million had at that time penetrated the veil to know that they were precisely wanderers, that they were here to serve, and they had realized their potential. Not as in the whole Confederation, because not everybody is aware of the Law of One, but the Law of One is not a dogma that people need to follow to become wanderers. It's just a wanderer can be anybody. It could be from any of our cultures and belief systems that have awakened that part of themselves and they have seen enlightenment, if you will. So only 10% back then. The other 45%, as they explain, they were sort of aware that they were not from this planet, that they were not from here. And I love how they say of this, shall we say, insanity, because it's very true. And so only about half of them were aware of that. And then I have issues interpreting if it was 30% of the rest or 15%, because they do say the remainder, and I suppose it's the remainder of the whole. In that case, it would be 30%, that they are aware that something is different with them. And only 50% if what they refer is to the remainder after you have taken these two out, like the 50% or 55%, then it would be around 15%. So again, these numbers are just to play with the idea that there is only very little people that have penetrated the veil, at least in 1981. And there is a higher percentage of people who have an idea that they're not from here. This is very common. You can still see this in people when you encounter them, and you know that there are such beautiful souls, but they're struggling with life and they say, I don't feel like I belong here in this planet, in this society, in this matrix and everything else. This is the vast majority. I would think that now there is a greater number that are in this position, but I could be wrong. And certainly there's a smaller but still measurable amount of people that they just feel that there's something not quite right with this. And so this is how we see the breaking down of the percentage of population awaken. There's a reason why I'm giving you all these numbers, but before I give you the final numbers and conclusion, let me read to you something that Kuo said in 2018 when they were asked specifically how many wanderers were now in planet Earth, because it was outdated from 1981 with 65 million. So let's see what Kuo said. March 2018, Kuo said, at this time, there are approximately 350 million of these entities who have incarnated within your Earth planes in order to offer their service to those of this planet who would request such. Many have come in recent times also from other third density planets who have made the graduation there and are incarnating in what you may call the doubly activated bodies, in order to be of service in helping this planet make its transition into the fourth density of love and understanding. The number of these entities exceed that of the wanderers, reaching nearly 500 million entities. They were also asked if these wanderers belong to the Confederation of Planets, and to that Kuo said, we can say that each of the wanderers that have incarnated within this planetary influence are indeed members of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the one infinite creator. For this planetary entity that you call Earth, and which others refer to as Terra, is within the, shall we say, jurisdiction of bounds responsibility of this confederation. So, rounding up final numbers, we have that from 65 million wanderers in 1981, that was around 1.4 or 1.5 of the population on planet Earth. Now we are at 350 million, that was 2018, and I don't think that has changed that much, but that's around, I believe, 4% of the population right now that are exclusively wanderers. They also said that all wanderers are from the Confederation of Planets, which again, you know where to watch the video about the Confederation of Planets. And they also included something else about the not quite wanderers, but those who have graduated from third to fourth density in other planets that have chosen to come into incarnation here. And this is what Ra also calls the double activated body, because they already have fourth density activated and they just came here to have their early experience in third density, knowing that this planet is very, very ripe for catalyst. And it's a privilege, they say, to be here. Ra said this in 1981, that most of these, or the majority, or all of them actually, have the privilege to be here because this is a planet that offers a lot of catalysts, like they said before, to accelerate their process in fourth density. So in essence, all these, about 500 million in 2018, they said, 500 million of them are here, and they're, like we have explored already, their purpose and their contribution is also to accelerate themselves in the next density. So in essence, all this 500 million, which is 500 million, for those who are confused with billion, that may not be from the US or don't use the system, billion is 1,000 million, which is kind of strange for a lot of foreigners like me, because billion is actually what the trillion is in the US, but I digress. The point is that it's around 500 million wanderers. And so this 500, not wanderers, but 500 million entities who have graduated from third density to fourth density. And to me, these are mostly, if not all of them, the children that are being born right now, that we have been talking about, the crystal children and the indigo children and all of those. They're probably mixed between wanderers and those that have graduated into fourth density and are coming here for an early experience in third density. So have fun, guys. The last thing that I would say in terms of numbers is that if you add 500 million and 350 million back then in 2018 and even now, this amounts to more than 10% of the population of Earth are already graduates from third density, meaning that the amount that this Earth is being alleviated, and we have more and more energy to provide the Earth for its ascension into fourth density, this will continually increase over time. This is the harvesting process that is also going through, and that I still have to make a video about, so I promise you that, the harvest. But this is the process in which we are going through, and you can see that there is a higher and higher percentage now of those who have made the graduation into fourth density. And I can tell you that those 500 million wanderers that are coming here right now, at least from 2018 we have that number, all of them have graduated into positive fourth density, because otherwise they couldn't be here. They're not, this planet is not harboring negative entities of fourth density and above, of course. It's only third density and fourth density, so all the entities that are here are positive, or helping polarize the planet finally into its ascension. So the last thing I would say as a conclusion, and this is just a word of caution for the spiritual ego, is that initially when we hear that there is a possibility that we are wanderers, there is the excitement that I may be something more. And this is actually right on the money, because we are something more, but so is everybody else. And again, the thing with being a wanderer is that you realize that much of the struggles that you have had psychologically and physically are due to this disharmony on planet Earth, and your decision to come here and experience this. And at the same time, this will push you, just like Carla, Carla was a wanderer, and she was told by Ra that many of her illnesses were because she wanted to have those so she can accelerate her service here. And that's exactly what she did. She used all of these incapacities or disabilities that she had and used them to the most of her ability to continue to serve. And so she did until her final days. So this is just my contribution to you, as the identity of a wanderer is only to realize that you have all of this potential to bring to planet Earth. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's in art or if it's in politics or if it's in anything. Kuo has also said in previous channelings that many of these wanderers and those who are graduating from 3rd density to 4th density coming here for an early experience, all of them are spread out in all the institutions and are trying to change this planet for a more positive, more unifying reality, which we're all trying to make here. And that is my final take on wanderers. Remember, if you want to watch more videos about this, I have a lot that I would leave here, some of them, and at the end of the video, I'll put another one that I think is interesting. Just go watch all of these videos if you're all excited about wanderers. And that's all I got today. Thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope that this enlightened you in some way in terms of the wanderers. I have nothing else to say, but I love you, my brother and sister of sorrow. I'll see you in the next video.